Hi, everybody. Welcome to class this week. And uh, this is a new course, sort of the first class of a new course that I'll be teaching here. Sort of a shorter course, really a little bit more practical course, really on a famous meditation called Tong Len in Tibetan, also called Taking and Giving. This is one that a lot of people know. It's in a lot of Buddhist traditions now, a lot of wellness traditions and Buddhist psychology and so forth. It's sort of been very much popularized. I know a lot of people know this. There's a lot of great teachers like Pema Chodron, for instance, famous Buddhist teacher, and then who popularized this. I think it was even on Oprah Winfrey years ago. I can't remember. I seem to remember seeing that or hearing about it. So this course here will be just sort of an introduction. Most people know this stuff anyway, but a little bit of an introduction to the background of Tong Len, where how it's properly contextualized or situated in Tibetan Buddhism, in particular, Tibetan Buddhism in general, as well as how it works. Sort of the content of the meditation and how to situate it, I guess, within your own practice and how to meditate sort of with the proper background for it. Also, it's not going to be a very long course, just a few classes, couple classes of presentation, I believe, introduction, and then a discussion Q&A on it. And for myself, I think I'd like to do this a little bit different in the sense that I'll do some introductory prayers, and then we will do, I'll do the bulk of the presentation or teaching, and then I'll end the class actually with 15 minutes of Tong Len, and just to give people a sense of it. And of course, you can do this on your own anytime you want. And then that's that. We'll see. Like if people have questions, we can bring it into the sort of Q&A session at the end of the course. Okay, so let's get started here. I'll get started with the Heart Sutra. Like always here. Okay. Homage to Perfection Wisdom, the Blessed Mother. As I've heard at one time, Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir on Mass Vulture's Mount, together with Great Assembly of Monks, Great Assembly of Bodhisattvas. That time, the Blessed One was absorbed in concentration of countless aspects of called profound illumination. That time, also, Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, was looking perfect, the price of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. And through power Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, how should his son, a lineage trained, who wishes to engage with the practice of perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Great Being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly also the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, and form is not other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. They are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, also up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in perfection wisdom. Their minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing utterly beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas relied perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection wisdom, became manifest, complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal and the unequal mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata Omgata Gata Paragata Parasamgata Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Spirit of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that he'd spoken well. Good, it's like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfections of wisdom should be practiced, and Tathagatas will also rejoice. And the Blessed One said this, Shara Putra, the spirit of Shara, the body of the great being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, and spirits, were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay. So just visualize, just quickly, just sort of a shorter practice here of introductory prayers. We can visualize ourselves seated in space, ground like lapsazuli, beautiful blue sky like a dome above us, and ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings. So on our left, on our right, people we love the most behind us as support, people we like the least or have issues or karma with that we're working out in front of us as objects of compassion. Then we can feel that humans from all over the world are with us, all different beings from the animal world, insects and birds and mammals and so forth. Countless spirit beings from the spirit world, the different spirit planes, whether it be astral, ethereal, elemental realms, so forth. Celestial beings like asuras or demigods, different celestial or god beings, and countless beings in lower states of rebirth, different hells and hungry ghost realms. We're all here together, meditating and practicing together. So now visualizing in the sky, the sort of synthesis of the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is Buddha Shakyamuni, golden light energy body, 3 robes of a monk, holding a bag in both his left hand and right hand in the subduing mudra. And at his heart is higher form, Vajradhara and Vajradhatu Ishvari in sexual embrace, beautiful sapphire blue energy, bodies wearing crowns and jewels and so forth. And he's holding a bell and Vajra scepter. And she holds a curved chopping knife, cleaver in right hand, a skull cup in this one. You can even feel that they're surrounded by all different Buddhist and Bodhisattvas and Buddhist angels and so forth. Short prayers here. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Now generating bodhicitta, the altruistic wish to achieve full enlightenment for the prayer of all, that we lead all sentient beings that same state. Through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Then the 4 immeasurables of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, may everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. Visualizing the merit field here, Buddha Shakyamuni and all holy beings. In the space before me is living Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the full moon surrounded by stars. 7 limbs of our Buddhist practice here. With my body, speech, and mind humbly I prostrate to make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. Now I'm offering the mandala purified universe here as an offering to open our hearts to Buddha Shakyamuni and all living beings. Visualize sort of purified universe in our hands, out in our hearts here. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land, and offer thus may all beings enjoy this pure lens. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion. My friends, enemies, and strangers, our bodies and all enjoyments, please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the 3 poisons. I send forth this jewel mandala to you, precious gurus. Om Idam Guru Ratna Dalakam Artiyami. And now we'll do the short prayer of the stages of the path. So this is the short LamRim, sort of the sort of what they used to call Cole's Notes, or sort of resume of the three principal paths of renunciation, bodhicitta and wisdom realizing emptiness, from the great saint and founder of our tradition, Lupa tradition, Tsongkhapa, the 14th century. So the short LamRim here, prayer of the stages of the path. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms, extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding, all day night to seize its essence. My body, like a water bubble, decays and dies so very quickly. After death comes results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought comes mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Also that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination. By pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings, bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through commonplace, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle of Vajrayana. The attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and all my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy dharma, accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly, and gain the state of Vajradhara. So we recited this, we now receive blessings. So from the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying. So we can just feel that in particular Buddha Shakyamuni at the center here, from the hearts of Vajradhara and Vajradhara at his heart, beautiful golden lights are coming down in nectars. So it's like to have like a piece of thread and you run some oil along it, you know, whatever, have it and hold it down here and hold it up and put oil, it'll sort of slide down the thread. I would just feel it's just you can have all sort of beams of light and the nectar energy going into ourselves and all sentient beings here. Or if it's easy, just very thin, almost like rice noodles, vermicelli noodles that you get in certain soups. Just very, very thin, made out of light, and the nectar runs through them like a little strong needle, coming into us and all sentient beings around us, making us all glow like suns, or made out of pure energy here. Again, boosting our spiritual power, our compassion, and wisdom. And again, purifying us, letting go of all sort of stains and obscurations, obstructions, and so forth, making us clear and sort of vibrant, more spiritual here. And we can just ask for blessings here from Buddha Shakyamuni. Please grant us your blessings of body, speech, and mind. You are the synthesis of all Buddhas, Dharma, and Sangha jewels. So we can just feel that all holy beings are dissolved into Buddha Shakyamuni, and then Buddha Shakyamuni dissolves into his heart, and couple, Vajradhara and Vajradhara. And they become a little blue diamond in the sky here, sort of float down our heads into our crown chakra, and then slowly descend to our heart. And as they reach our heart, just feel that they merge into us, becoming one with us, our mind and our mind, our heart and your heart become the same thing, become one. Again, all their love, compassion, joy, wisdom, and power go directly into us, and we can just feel completely energized here and just sort of broken open, expansive. So great, great spaciousness, limitlessness. At the same time, joy and bliss, feeling a sense of totality here and selflessness, deep, deep peace and happiness, and the same sort of powerful, joyous power, creative power. Sit with that energy here for a moment. Okay, so coming out of meditation now. Okay, so again, welcome to the class here on Tong Len, or taking and giving. So, what is this? What is taking and giving? Where does it come from? Again, it's sort of a more popular um, practice in meditation, Buddhism, I think in spirituality in general, because of great teachers like Pema Chodron. She's got a little book on it. There's probably been many, many books now. I've lost track of them. That'll just be on taking and giving meditation. Also known sometimes in Theravada tradition, where we have meditation, meditation on love and kindness. There's been a lot of teachers now who might be from a Theravada background, but who bring in taking and giving or aspects of it to bring it together. Uh, into that meditation. So the metta meditations, even kind of similar to a Tong Len meditation. I know it's only Stilko Khyentse Rinpoche has a book on Lojong, or mind transformation, where he talks about that as well. So, Tong Len is part of the series of teachings in Tibetan Buddhism called Lojong, which means mind or thought transformation, the idea of transforming the mind from negative to positive, from a mind of self-cherishing and suffering to a mind of cherishing others and mind of happiness. So there's a lot of books in that series from all different traditions of Tibetan Buddhism on Lojong, and Tong Len ends up being kind of the center meditation of those teachings. In a lot of ways, you could say that Lojong is kind of a manual, sort of a performance art meditation manual on how to make lemonade out of lemons. And how you do it, this sort of practical application that is to do the taking and giving meditation. So in a lot of ways, almost you get that if you read any of the Greek or Roman Stoics in Western philosophy, the sort of antiquity period, you have very, very similar meditations that they do. I mean, not Tong Len per se, but a huge thing of Stoicism is, how do I have an affirmative, not a reactive attitude towards my life? So if things are happening to me that I can't change, I don't want to get overwhelmed by them, angry, suffer, fight with them. Rather, I have to not just learn to accept things in my life that I can't control, but even flip them around to will them as such. So I end up having this very happy, joyful attitude towards all things in my life and accept them. And sort of again make the fancy lemonade out of lemons. Nietzsche calls that amor fati, and sort of love of fate, the idea of things being fated or karmically given to you. How do I transform them into not something I just sort of accept, but that I love so much that I actually want them to happen to me? So you end up flipping this mind to a very sort of constricted, kind of reactive, depressive, maybe even vengeful mind, to this open-hearted, loving mind towards all beings and all things. So yeah, so that's you know, in the context, that's kind of Lojong or mind transformation teachings. So there's a lot of books on that. Toku Thondup's a really, really great Nyingma Lama. He's written a book called Healing Power of the Mind, infant healing, a bunch of different books on Lojong, and he's got stuff on Tong Len. There's Geshe Rabden, and Geshe Darge famously wrote that book, Advice from a Spiritual Friend, which has the whole part, that's a whole Tong Len book as well. It has the main verses from Geshe Langri Tengkra and Geshe Chakawa. So you can sort of see that the I guess you could say the lineage of these teachings were the early Kadampas, or the students of Atisha Dipankara Vijayana, who was part of this Sarma, or second wave of transmission of Buddhism into Tibet in the 11th century. He's one of the great Buddhist minds and saints of his day from West Bengal, India, and he came and taught in Tibet for, I think, about 10 or 12 years or something. You can go on Wikipedia and find out. But his students then took a lot of his teachings and sort of codified it into these Lojong traditions, and then would sort of share these sort of aphorisms. It's a lot like Stoicism. A lot of the Lojong texts are just aphorisms, little handy, almost fortune cookie-like teachings you use to practically transform your day from a -1 to a +1 to transform your mind that way. And so Tong Len was also seen as a secret practice, as so subtle, beautiful, secret, and sublime that it was kept very private. It was only, I think, at the time of one of the Kadampa masters, Geshe Chakawa, that he began teaching it more publicly. And then, of course, we have nowadays, like 1,000 years later, where you know, it's, you know, you can find it everywhere on the internet, and people practice it. Even non-religious or spiritual people practice it as kind of like a psychological technique for themselves, to make themselves feel better and whatever. So that's in Geshe Rabden's book, Advice from a Spiritual Friend. It's discussed in there. I know it's only as Dalai Lama has one. I think it's called Expanding Love. I have that book in the bookshelf. That might have it in there as well. We have a bunch of books. I probably should have a big stack of them here to show you. And then, of course, Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche has one called Universal Compassion, which is a look at Geshe Chakawa's text of Train the Mind in the 7 points or so, as well as he has another one on Geshe Langri Tengpa's text, which from this, I can't remember right now the title of it. The one I like is from the very illustrious master, Ken Rinpoche Loseng Tarchen, who was one of the great Gelugpa Lamas, 20th century, who taught in New Jersey at the Mongolian temple there. He's got excellent books that his students from Mahayana Sutra and Tantra Press put out. Highly recommended. This is him right here. And the book is called Achieving Bodhicitta, which is one of my favorites, which is a commentary by him to it's called The Instructions of Two Great Lineages Combined in a Unique System of 11 Categories. So what had happened is the founding of the new Kadampa tradition, or Tsongkhapa's Ganden or Gelugpa tradition, where he was looking back, you know, 3 centuries earlier to the original Kadampa students around Atisha, saying, you know, I want myself and my students to be like those guys. I want to practice like that. So he brought all these teachings together and made sort of 11-step manual of how to practice Lojong and how to practice Tong Len in particular. So if we could, so where do these teachings fit in? Just quick, I mean, I could spend, the next 2 weeks just talking about all of this, where all this fits in. But generally, where you get the Tong Len and the the Lojong and Tong Len teachings, of course, if you look at LamRim, the three scopes of teaching, sort of the graduated path to enlightenment, that's the centerpiece of all the Buddhist teachings and trainings in the Gelugpa tradition. We have those three scopes are sort of organized around the three principal paths of Buddhism: for renunciation, bodhicitta, or the awakening mind, and then wisdom, in particular, wisdom realizing emptiness. So, the initial and intermediate scope of LamRim, the sort of beginning and the middle scope, are all teachings on renunciation. And then when we get to the great scope, renunciation, and I should say, to be honest, and wisdom, of course, because in the intermediate middle scope, you have the three higher trainings of moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom realizing emptiness. So these three will allow you to have a realization of nirvana, realizing of emptiness directly, embodying that emptiness, and sort of eliminating all of your suffering, the sufferings of samsara. But the great scope, how they teach it, of course, is the scope that allows you to generate the awakening mind, mind of great enlightenment, or bodhicitta. Bodhi meaning, enlightenment or awaken, and chit in Sanskrit is mind. And so this allows you to reach enlightenment, just like the intermediate scope or middle scope, but in a greater way, Mahayana vehicle, sort of bigger view, because you're reaching nirvana with the mind of a bodhisattva, with the mind of bodhicitta. So rather than just sort of becoming a saint or an arhat or foe destroyer, like destroying all the foes in your life, all the your sufferings and delusions and all your self-made suffering, we're going to manifest as a fully enlightened Buddha or awakened being, that our whole angelic existence then will be teaching emptiness and teaching karma and teaching all the Buddhist grounds and paths to all sentient beings that they reach that same state. Okay, so at the beginning of the great scope, you have 6 perfections being taught, which of course we've talked about this before, just what are the practices of a bodhisattva on the way to enlightenment? How do I manifest in my daily life the practice of bodhicitta, then I purify my negatives and create merit or virtue energy to get enlightened. So of course, these are the 6 perfections of giving, moral discipline, patience, joyous effort, concentration or shamatha, and wisdom realizing emptiness, the vipassana part of it. And then all these put together, you end up reaching enlightenment. But to sort of engage in these 6 perfections from the very beginning, you have to generate bodhicitta. So how do you generate bodhicitta? The first part of the entering the Mahayana path is studying and practicing as your main practice equanimity, how to have a balanced mind. You can't have a mind of enlightenment if your mind is prejudicial towards people. In other words, if you're sorting everything in the world into things you like, things you don't like, and things you don't care about. So that kind of prejudicial or judgmental attitude, you'll never get enlightened with that kind of an attitude. That's a worldly attitude, a samsaric attitude that's precisely driving your suffering forward. So at the beginning of the Mahayana, you have all these meditations and techniques to create a mind of equanimity, a balanced mind, they say, free from attachment and hatred. So free from being attached, chasing after what you like, and free from pushing away, attacking, or trying to remove yourself for things you don't like. And then at the same time, generating mind that's open, friendly, and caring. So you don't have this sort of I don't care mind, this sort of not even cynical, but just sort of spaced out, indifferent, nihilistic, apathetic mind we have a lot of times towards things. Whereas, yeah, who cares, whatever, I don't care, does it, rather than that, you're having sort of an engaged, caring, and friendly attitude towards the world and all beings. And at the same time, it's equanimous. It's balanced, and you're able to sort of, like I said, be friends or open to all people. rather than just seeing everybody in terms of friends, enemies, and strangers. So that's the ground, that's the foundation. That's sort of you're going to build a house, you have to make the ground nice and flat, and you put your little level and everything's level. That's how you build bodhicitta on top of that. Now, what are the ways of generating bodhicitta? Well, there's two ways of generating bodhicitta, like we've sort of gone over in the past, two different lineages that they combine, that Atisha taught and Tsongkhapa taught. And so two famous lineages of the awakened mind, one being taught by Arya Sangha, one of Buddhism's greatest saints, who got these teachings directly in the Pure Land Tashita from the future fifth universal Buddha, Buddha of Maitreya, the Buddha of loving kindness. So he taught what they call the sevenfold cause and effect means for generating bodhicitta. The other one is from, I guess, again, look online, I can't remember, it's either 6th or 8th century, I have to see, famous one of the great Buddhist saints of all time in India, Shantideva, one of the 84 Mahasiddhas. And in Gajah Bodhisattva's way of life, in his teachings, you have what they call equalizing and exchanging self for others. That's the other way of generating bodhicitta. So, in brief, Maitreya's way, Sangha's way, is to how do I develop equanimity, then I see all beings as having been my mothers in past lives. I'll be having like a family relationship. All beings have cared for me, taken care of me in the past, made me who I am. So because of that, I have sort of a karmic debt. I want to repay. I see all beings as having been my mother. All beings have been kind to me and taking care of me. Karmically, I sort of owe them for that. I want to repay that kindness. Now, having seen this, this is where I end up generating love, the three kinds of love. In other words, on the basis of seeing this sort of familial relationship with all life, with all beings, and feeling ethically in debt to them, wanting to care for them in the same ways they've cared for me is a way of paying back, and sort of seeing like you find out this is your long lost relative. Well, now, hey, we can have a relationship. We can care for each other. Same kind of thing. You generate love. And the definition for love in Buddhism is wanting another person, another being to be happy, wanting them to be happy. And so there's different levels of love. So first one you go to is affectionate love, which means that you care for other beings. You actually like them. You're affectionate with them. And then the next step of going deeper, more intimate, there is cherishing love. On the base of this affectionate love, you go into cherishing love, which is you start to see beings as being like your children. It's almost like you're the grandpa or grandma and you're looking at your grandkids and you love them and want to care for them, don't want them to get hurt or so forth. And then that sort of graduates or unfolds into another deeper form of love, which is called wishing love, which is the true nature of love. Is when I look at sentient beings kind of as my children, I want them to be happy. It's not sort of a codependent where codependency was I'm responsible for their happiness. Not that at all. It's just looking and just saying, I want you to be happy. Whatever it is that makes you happy, whatever you want to be happy, may that be the case, even if has nothing to do with me, like a true happiness of self-fulfillment, self-actualization. So we have that wishing love. And then what's interesting is we ask ourselves in this development of bodhicitta, if we want all beings to be happy, you look at them and say, well, the thing is that they're not happy. They're miserable because they're suffering in samsara. And so what's interesting is that love turns into a compassion. Compassion being defined as not wanting beings to suffer or wanting to help take away or help care for them, that they self-alleviate their own suffering. So this then sort of, because we have this towards all beings, ends up becoming a great compassion, wanting all beings who have all been my family, the whole sort of sentient being family, or loving all existence, and seeing you want everyone to be happy or self-actualized, and then start to see that they're not, because of that they're in samsara, they're suffering. So you want them to be free of that suffering. And that's great compassion. Now, then this brings in the final, these are all causes, one leading to the other, sort of tumbling forth, one into the other, or almost like, hey, we'll call aufhebung, or transcending yet keeping. Each one of these steps gets transcended or produces next step, but they're all like a fugue interarticulated. They're all gathered up together. So equanimity is still in there. So is seeing all beings as being our mother and want to repay them. But they're all sort of inner enriched and inner developed. This sort of bigger system has come here. We end up at the final cause of bodhicitta, which is what they call superior intention. So superior intention is where you end up saying, I want all beings to be happy. I don't want them to suffer. They're suffering because, in particular, why are they suffering? They're suffering because they're in samsara. It's their self-grasping mind and self-cherishing mind that's ultimately producing their own suffering. Someone has to help them relieve this suffering. Who can do this? Do we just wait? Everybody's suffering, including myself. Who's going to take responsibility? Who's going to step up? Who's going to do this? Well, then the spirit intention is like, well, I'm going to do that, not just for myself, but for all beings, all of us together. Someone has to step up and, do the dishes, so to speak, after the party. Someone has to ethically do this. There's a call, a direct call for me to do this. So it is almost like a Kantian ethics where you're universalizing the situation, in the sense that we're all in this together. Someone has to take responsibility for this. Well, it has to be me. Who else would it be? I can't sort of defer this to the big other or someone else to step up. The whole point is, because in my own subjectivity, I'm a part of it, I can only act ethically in this way by taking up the reins here. So I take up the superior intention of engaging in the bodhisattva path, and so then this produces bodhicitta as the effect. Sevenfold cause, 7 causes, the effect is bodhicitta. I'm going to do this. What am I going to do? I'm going to become a bodhisattva. I'm going to go along the path to enlightenment, and I'm going to become a Buddha. Why? Because as a Buddha, even as a bodhisattva, but all the way being Buddha, what do I do? How do I help all beings relieve their suffering and find ultimate happiness? I teach them emptiness and karma. I teach them the path of self-liberation, so they liberate themselves, so that they relieve their own suffering, so that they find their own happiness, right? That we're all happy and all relieved of suffering in one and all together and singular at the same time by this path. So that's the first one, which is really, really beautiful. It's a very common one. The other one, they say, equalizing, changing self with others, is even more profound, because it, rather than having at the basis caring for others, which is seeing all beings as my mothers and hence wanting, remember the kindness, wanting to repay it, Shantideva says, we start with ourselves, and because we're so selfish, it's easier to do. In a lot of ways, it's more intense and more powerful, because the medicine hits home hardest by being sort of self-related, you could say. So how does, upon generating equanimity, going into equalizing self and others, what is it? Well, basically, we are all equal. Why are we all equal? It's interesting. How are we all equal? I mean, everyone always wants to talk about equality nowadays. What's the Buddhist definition of equality? Shantideva's definition. Kind of interesting, because he says all of us are equal, in a sense that whether you're a god or whether you're a worm or a hungry ghost or anything, or a person, we all have one thing in common, and really nothing else in common, because we're all different. When you compare me to a butterfly or a spirit on the ethereal realm or something, or a god from the formless realm, which is just empty space in a big jhana state, what do we have in common? We're really not a whole lot, probably nothing. But one thing we do, that what equalizes us and makes us equal, is a very simple existential thing, which is all of us want to be happy and none of us want to suffer. So we're all looking for happiness and not finding it, and just finding suffering, so to speak. So we're all on that spiritual quest or odyssey of trying to be happy in this world, in samsara. And rather than finding this happiness, which is lost to us, we're suffering. We're lost and confused and suffering. That's the lowest common denominator. So all of us have that. Like, bugs want to be happy, birds want to be happy, spirits want to be happy, hell beings want to be happy, we want to be happy, gods want to be happy, everyone, and none of us want to suffer. Whether you're sort of this high god in some celestial realm, or some hell being in hell suffering, or some beetle or person, none of us want to suffer. We all feel pain. There's so many different kinds based on our different worlds or embodiments. So that's why we're equal. So we have that thing in common. So it's equalizing and exchanging self for others. So what Shantideva says is that we're all equal, and yet at the same time, we all feel apart or separate from one another. So we have to be able to ethically switch into walking a mile in someone else's shoes, and exchange ourselves with other people. So what's interesting is, why is that important? The next step he always goes into is, so we've equalized ourselves with all beings. We have this shared existential condition, not the human condition, but the sentient being condition. Can we exchange ourselves with others? And then we should exchange ourselves with, because there's a necessity of exchanging ourselves with others. So why is that? Where does he come up with that? So first of all, he says we exchange ourselves with others all the time, right? Even in a samsaric way, being selfish. In other words, there's only one piece of pizza left, and I'm in line. I see one guy about to buy it. I want to be that guy. I wish I was that guy. And then, like Freud would say, like, that the suffering we get from watching others enjoy something is the enjoyment itself. So what's funny is, like, you even put yourself, like little kids, when you have an ice cream and they don't have it and they start crying, what they are exchanging themselves with is the bliss or pleasure you feel, kind of like the libidinous pleasure of enjoying the ice cream that they don't have it. So what Shantideva says, even though we're always pitted against one another in these selfish struggles and wars in samsara of our different self projects and selfishness and egoism, we're constantly exchanging ourselves with other people anyway. We're always taking other people's positions, with, even though we're selfish. Right. So even if someone's humiliated, I'm glad I'm not that guy. Someone wins something, I wish I was that person. Someone's got the last parking spot at Costco, they drive in before I do. I'm always putting myself in other people's shoes all the time anyway, but always from a selfish point of view, never from actually a loving, compassionate point of view. So Shantideva says we do that anyway. It's easy to do. He says it's as relative as mountains. Like, you're on one mountain going hiking, you see another mountain. So I'm on this mountain, that's that mountain. I go down the valley, hike up, turn around, take a selfie. And now I'm on this, that mountain has become this mountain, and this mountain has become that mountain. So everything's relative. Our sort of forms of embodiment, in a lot of ways, have a lot to do with our perspective. And we're changing perspectives a lot. Even though this is our life, our karma, our perspective on the world, we're able to substitute ourselves ethically with other people all the time. So why should we equalize, exchange ourselves with others? He's got that famous quote in his book, which is, all the happiness in the world comes from a mind cherishing others. All the misery in the world comes from mind cherishing itself. So in other words, the more I'm in a self-referential point of view from my self-grasping and self-cherishing, the more I suffer. The more I cherish other people, the happier I get. And of course, they're happy too. So that's the necessity. I can equalize, exchange myself and others. There's the ethical thing where I really should. If I want to be happy, not want to suffer like everyone else, then the best thing I can do is to do that. So what's the ultimate equalizing, exchanging elements? Well, going on the bodhisattva path. That's the best thing I can do to become enlightened, understanding karma and emptiness, understanding that cherishing others and acting karmically brings the true happiness I'm looking for in the world, and happiness to everyone around me. Whereas conversely, just following my selfish, self-cherishing mind, self-grasping mind, makes more and more samsara for myself and others. There's an ethical duty. I don't really have a choice of the bigger picture. If what I really want to do is be happy like everyone else, I have to cherish other people. I have to practice the path of a bodhisattva. Then how do I do this? How do I really put this in my day-to-day behavior? How do I make a meditation of it? How do I embody this? Well, this is through the practice of Tong Len. So this is by taking and giving. I end up taking the suffering of all sentient beings around us based on my love and my compassion. This destroys my self-cherishing mind, and then I give from an open heart to whatever beings need to make them happy. In particular, I give them Dharma, the Dharma of the unity of karma and emptiness, the Buddhist teachings on the three principal paths. And this ironically creates the karma for me to progress on the bodhisattva path and get enlightened, where this is what I'm doing 24/7 as a Buddha. So what Tsongkhapa did, if you do go and to Mahayana Sutra Tantra Vest and purchase this book, I think it's also on Amazon, you could probably get it online, is what Tsongkhapa did is he said, well, those are two great, and they're usually in LamRim presented as you can do one or the other. So some people like one form of generating bodhicitta and some like the other. What Tsongkhapa did is he just stuck them together. So he said, you don't have to pick. You can actually do it, and it's called the 11-round bodhicitta meditation. So how does he do this? Well, number one, I can just list it again. Number one, generate equanimity. Got a list here on my phone here. Number two, distinguishing everyone as having been our mother. So see all beings as having been our mothers. Two, remembering the kindness of motherly love, all the caring love and kindness all sentient beings as our mothers or family members have given us. Number three, or number four, I should say, which is wishing to repay this kindness of other mother beings. And number five, equalizing our attitude towards everyone. So not only do I see every being as having been my mother, of course, I want to bring in the fact that we are all equal and that we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. Number six, the disadvantage of cherishing, self-cherishing attitude and the benefits of cherishing others. Like I said, the famous quote from Shantideva, all the happiness in the world comes from cherishing others. All the unhappiness and suffering in the world comes from a selfish attitude. And that's the line that I always like is he says that. And I think, you know, he draws a distinction where he says, like, look at the difference between Buddhists who have this attitude and normal people like us that have the other attitude. Like, look at the difference. Buddhists and Bodhisattvas cherish others and make the world a better place and a happier place. And we just cherish ourselves and look at the difference. We're just unhappy and fighting with everybody and whatever. Right? Number eight, which is compassion, generating great compassion. And then number 9 says love with the practice of Tong Len. So again, not wanting people to suffer and wanting them to be happy. So then the last two is the superior intention, which is the result of Tong Len, produces the superior intention. You end up living your life with that bodhisattva intention that everything you're doing is for the enlightenment of all sentient beings because you are on the bodhisattva path. And so what it ends up doing is you're practicing bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, you're realizing bodhicitta more and more in your personal life. So I will say, which is interesting, is compassion 8 and 9 and love are reversed. So rather than in the sevenfold cause and effect where you get love that produces great compassion, here we do the taking and then the giving. So we're taking on the sufferings, which is an aspect of great compassion, and giving whatever beings want or whatever they need to make them happy, which is wishing love. Okay, so that's sort of what I wanted to say is sort of the basic background for this. I just wanted to give a few more notes here that I have written down before we do a little bit of a meditation here, which is interesting. It's that so what you, in other words, having given that as a background of how Tong Len works, you see that what I always like to say is a lot of times you'll go to some meditation group or whatever, and people start practicing Tong Len, and it's usually given as form as sort of a therapeutic healing meditation that, you know, I'm gonna, you know, people, someone's sick in your family, someone you love, someone needs something, so you're gonna do Tong Len for them or do Tong Len for yourself because of your own traumas or suffering. That's all good. And I think that that's great. And a lot of times it's, oh, this will make you feel better, more at peace, more happy in your life. If other people know that you're doing this for them, that makes them feel happy as well. That's all true. That's all great. But like I always say, don't forget the most important thing is that this is situated within the context of really engaging in the bodhisattva path of really trying to live the three principal paths: renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness. And so your main intention here for doing Tong Len really should be bodhicitta. And what we're trying to produce in ourselves is bodhicitta. So it's not just sort of a simple thing of just, oh, you know, I want to take away the suffering myself or someone else. You have to have a little bit bigger, more cosmic motivation here for doing it. Now, as everyone will tell you in any kind of healing, if you can't heal yourself or put yourself in a good place, you can't be of help to anyone else. So we have to start with our own healing and doing all this and start sort of more on a Hinayana path before we go into this. And that's very, very true. You don't want this sort of spiritual bypassing thing of thinking you're this amazing master bodhisattva healer, neo Buddha kind of person, when really you've got your own issues that you haven't healed or really dealt with. So we always want to do this with a sense of skill as well. So the goal of this practice, it says here, is to take away others' pain and bad karma and give them happiness and good karma. So the bad karma here is the pain that hasn't happened yet, the future pain in seed form. So in a lot of ways, when we're doing this, so the way that meditation usually works, of course, you probably know this, is that you get people to, you visualize that you're, seated here and that all sentient beings in front of you, people that might need the healing or the care more than others, you can put them before you. And then you visualize that you're bringing in all their sufferings and pain and bad karma and so forth, and obstacles and obscurations, so forth. And it's like a black smoke, sooty black smoke, and we can feel that that comes. And at the same time, at our heart, we visualize our own self-grasping, self-cherishing mind, a really sort of nasty ego centric perspective, our egoism in the form of, they always said like a little piece of black light or black coal at her heart. So on the breath, on the inhale, we're bringing in all the black smoke of being sufferings. It goes into, we bring it into the heart. And the moment this black soot and black smoke of other being sufferings reaches that black little ball of nasty, negative ego, self-cherishing ness that we have in our self-grasping mind, both of these kind of cancel themselves out. So it's almost like they see in a flash of lightning, they both become completely transformed and disappear. So it would be like acid meeting a base, like they both sort of cancel themselves out. And they always say it's like a flash of light. And then on the exhale, we can visualize that we're breathing out sort of white light or beautiful energy that again is giving sentient beings what they need to be happy. So for instance, I mean, you can, they always say you can visualize specific things. If someone's sick, give them medicine. If someone's lonely, give them a companion. If someone's hungry, give them food. But most of all, what we want to do is to give them the things that really will lead to their lasting happiness from suffering, which is Dharma teachings, the three principal paths, so in particular teachings on karma and emptiness. So we can just feel that that's most of all, when we're breathing out light, we're really giving sort of the spiritual medicine of the spiritual teachings they need to self-liberate. But also, this is where your imagination comes in, and you can give what people need, right? Sometimes people just need very, very basic things. So again, why is this important? Is that if you're doing this all the time, this opens your heart, that when you're out in public, get off your meditation cushion and go to work or go shopping or whatever else, you are more open-hearted. You are having all those sort of steps towards generating bodhicitta actualized in a very practical way in your life. Okay, so in particular, it says here, the pain that hasn't happened yet. So when we're pulling out that pain in black smoke, it's also pulling out not just the sufferings sentient beings are going through right now, but that they will go through in the future. So bringing that. Okay, so just looking at a little thing here too on the three principal paths, which I talked about, but also one of the reasons this gets into more tantric practice here is that this is what makes it so profound and subtle as a practice, is that when you get into tantric teachings, particularly what they call completion stage, again, teach that, but one of the things you can say that you get this, and this is one of the sort of main foundations of Tantra, but also in Taoism and Qigong and other religious traditions, very, very similar. So even certain magical or shamanic traditions say similar things here, but it's the idea that mind and prana or chi go together. And so in Tibetan culture, we have, you might have seen that they have in all the prayer flags, you get like what they call wind horse, like a Pegasus, right? And so it's a horse kind of flying, and he's got jewels, a wish fulfilling jewel, which is almost kind of like the Aladdin's magic lamp where the genie comes out and gives you what you wish for. So this sort of magical jewel on the saddle of the horse. So this is what they call Lungtar, wind horse. And this is the idea that minds are on prana or on energy, just like a rider on the horse. So wherever the rider wants the horse to go can direct the horse, and vice versa. Where the horse wants to go, the rider's stuck going along that way. So it's the same thing as that. Minds and energy go together. If you think a certain way, you create a certain energy, a certain direction. So there's a force or direction with it. But also at the same time is that there's a certain energy with a certain direction will force you to think a certain way. So you can't, it's like two sides of the same coin. You kind of can't divide one from the other. And this is why we all know this. If you have really bad energy, you're really upset and negative, it's hard not to have a negative mind. It affects your moods. So moods in a lot of ways are sort of the interface of energy and minds, or chi or prana and minds. So Lungta, wind horse, sort of shows that. That's sort of the idea of, what raises your luck, your wind horse, or good energy in your life? Well, you see in Tibetan culture, they do things, practices that make your mind very happy and open-hearted and joyous, and this boosts your energy at the same time, your life force or pranic energy. So that gets Tantra is all based on this, and there's a great quote by Lama Zasep Rinpoche, always quotes from Sakya Pandita, where he says, samsara is the mind that splits prana and mind. So in a lot of ways, that why we're in samsara is we don't see that energy and mind are the same thing. Right, that everything is energy, everything is mind. If we understand that, then we would produce nothing but good energy of cherishing others rather than producing bad prana and bad minds of cherishing ourselves, and kind of like a corkscrew drilling ourselves more and more into negative karma and negative prana by having very negative minds. So with what you'll see with Tong Len, which makes it so powerful and so special, is it's not just visualizing breaking in negative energy, destroying our self-cherishing mind, having an open-hearted mind, cherishing others, sending out good energy, is you're doing it on your breath. So what Qigong teaches you and Tantra teaches you, the way to manage prana or to direct prana is through breathing. The breath is sort of the circuit that connects your breath and prana go together. So that's what connects your mind and connects your subtle body with all the chi in your meridians. So this is an extremely subtle, powerful, almost like a tantric practice, even though it's sutra, it's an open practice of Buddhism, meditation, bodhicitta. We're doing everything working with energy or prana. So the more we do this practice, the more it will purify our prana and make it easier to have the good energy and good minds of bodhicitta rather than the negative energy of the self-cherishing. So that's why this is seen as such a powerful practice here. And just looking through my notes here. Okay, so I just have it. That actually, I'll probably talk a little bit more about the other next week here. There's a little bit more. I just wanted to compare this, like show this, how this fits into it with a general understanding of karma and emptiness. But I think I'm just going to leave that actually for next time here, because it's just time-wise, but I'm going to do a little bit of meditation here. All it says here is that basically that this will change your mind. Why this is so powerful and so effective is it's a very direct way of practicing love and compassion that will end up producing in a very practical way bodhicitta. So this will change your mind doing this. And we've got so many, I mean, anecdotal evidence only goes so far, I think, with some people. But I do know with my own personal experience, and many people I know have literally changed their mind and changed the world, their own world that they live in by doing this practice. So what's interesting is that in relationship to other people, you're always in dynamics. It's kind of like psychic cords between people. So, a lot of times it's like a tug of war. We're tugging back and forth and we have problems with other people. But if on your side of the dynamic, you develop more love and compassion, that always will affect the other person because it changes the dynamic. So I know many people that have been in very, very bad relationships with other people or bad, situations, do a lot of Tong, and then they find that the situation changes, the other people change. And it's because your mind, your heart has changed. And that's had a direct impact on other people. And so on a practical level, this is an amazing meditation to do that wise. It will literally change your mind. And if it changes your mind, of course, the world is a product of your mind. How you see things, of course, necessarily the world and everyone in it will start to change. So how about we just leave it right there for now, and I'll do sort of a little bit more talk about this next week as well. And just as an aside, if you see, I just put as a little the picture for the class a Care Bear Funshine Bear. If you know the sort of old kid show with Care Bears, they're always sending good energy and helping people find true happiness and alleviate their suffering. So by beaming positive light from their stomachs is the famous Care Bear stare. So what's funny is I'll talk more about this, is that even though this is a sutric practice, Tong Len's probably the most powerful practice you can do, because technically when you're a Buddha, this is all you're doing. When even you do tantric sadhanas, it's the same kind of visualizations. When you're a Buddha, that's what you will be doing 24/7, is removing the sufferings of all beings and giving them happiness. How do you do that? By caring for them, loving, showing compassion, showing them how to self-liberate and self-actualize, finding the happiness of their own mind, and compassionately removing their suffering, helping them remove the sufferings themselves, that they're in a position where they will do the same thing to others. So really, when you think about it, there's only taking and giving, right? Now, it's different when you're a Buddha. You don't have to get rid of your self-cherishing because you've already gotten rid of it. But in a lot of ways, the meditations are very, very similar. So what you're doing by making this as a core practice and making this as you go through life, you're really not just practicing how to be a bodhisattva and being a Buddha, but really doing the same thing Buddhas do, seeing everything is pure that way, everything is love, everything is compassion. You're bringing the Pure Land right to where you are right now. Okay, so let's just take a few moments here to do our actual meditation of Tong Len. So let's keep an eye on the time, which is very, very short because I've talked a lot. I don't want to, and again, this is, of course, your homework is do this, take this meditation with you and do it as much as you can. So again, we can just visualize ourselves seated here, almost like if we have all samsara, all sentient beings facing us. And again, if you'd like to have beings, some of them that you care about more than others, like in the sense that they need more of your help or blessing right now, you can sort of have them sitting in front of everybody else. And again, at our hearts right now, we visualize just like a black marble piece of obsidian of just really negative energy, negative prana, negative mind. All of our selfishness, our really sort of vulgar, base, very sad selfishness and self-grasping mind at our heart, just symbolized by this sort of like a piece of coal almost. And as we start to breathe, we can just breathe from the hearts of all the beings in front of us, all of their sufferings or true sufferings of samsara, all their delusions and true sufferings of old age, sickness and death and illness and so forth, all their confusions, obstructions, obscurations, and all the form of sort of a sooty black smoke. And as we breathe this in, just feel that we sort of breathe it into our hearts. And again, once it reaches our little sooty black obsidian marble of selfishness, they both cancel out in a flash of white light. And from this spaciousness, luminous light, love and compassion, we exhale out the happiness, the healing, the enlightenment that all beings so desperately need. And again, we're never affected by all this negativity from other people. We're affected by our own self-cherishing mind. That's the cause of all of our suffering isn't other people's suffering we're taking on, but rather our own selfishness. But both of these things are instantly being eliminated. So we're not sort of poisoning ourselves or tainting ourselves by this negative energy. Quite the contrary, they're instantly being wiped out by this meditation. So more and more we can open our hearts and take more and more of this suffering in as a direct antidote to self-cherishing. So now slowly coming on meditation. Just a little short Tong Len meditation here for us. Again, we can just make the dedication. May this be a cause for us to generate bodhicitta, aspiring and engaging bodhicitta, and really sort of the habit of doing Tong Len meditation as much as we can. May be a real sort of heart practice of ours along the Bodhisattva path. These are just a general dedication here, just before we go. Okay. Through the virtues that I've collected by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods and quickly attain enlightenment so that samsara is finally extinguished. So again, by the blessings of all holy beings, the truth of karma, power of our pure spirit intention, may all have bodhicitta, may our dharma wishes be fulfilled. Okay, thanks very much for coming, and we'll see you next time for the second part of this Tong Len series. Thank you.